Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. NFL Insider relays positive Steelers update on Aaron Rodgers. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been very patient when it comes to waiting on the decision of four-time NFL MVP quarterback Aaron Rodgers in free agency. And perhaps their patience is finally being rewarded. Worth noting, one league source told me earlier today that the Steelers feel like they're getting closer on their quarterback situation, NFL insider Josina Anderson reported on March 18. Adding, in their mind, that optimism pertained to Aaron Rodgers. Anderson did note that let's see if that sentiment is mutually held towards the consummation of a deal at some point. Rodgers seemingly has 3 potential NFL destinations at the forefront of his mind, with 4 potential outcomes. Those possible landing spots and decisions include the Minnesota Vikings, who have made no known offers for Rodgers, the Steelers, the New York Giants, and retirement. Both Pittsburgh and the Giants have standing offers on the table for Rodgers, according to ESPN insider Jeremy Fowler, via SNY. Fowler reported this live on SportsCenter on March 16, but The Athletic also hinted at something similar on March 15. Rodgers has been targeted by the Steelers and Giants but has essentially put both teams on hold while he waits for clarity regarding the Vikings situation, The Athletic staff reported at the time. If Minnesota ceases to be an option, it's also possible that Rodgers will turn down both the Steelers and Giants and instead opt for retirement. With all that in mind, Anderson's March 18 update is a positive sign for the Steelers. As more and more time passes, the Vikings could be fading as a legitimate suitor for Rodgers, which would certainly increase the future Hall of Fame QB's chances of signing in Pittsburgh, barring retirement or a riskier move to a Giants franchise that was 3-14 in 2024. Steelers locker room seems confident in Mason Rudolph as Aaron Rodgers' wait continues. Steelers team leader Cameron Hayward made headlines on March 18 after he sent Rodgers a very public message on the newest episode of his podcast, Not Just Football with Cam Hayward. It's important to remember that Hayward speaks for the locker room, and he seemed to be getting a little bit impatient waiting on Rodgers. How many other Steelers players would agree? During the same podcast episode, Hayward praised Mason Rudolph, who re-signed with Pittsburgh last week. "Mason's a good dude," Hayward voiced on the show. "I think Mason proved to a lot of Steelers fans, not just this past year, but last year when he stepped in for us, that he was ready. If we don't sign a quarterback and we go in the year with Mason, I think we feel good about it," the veteran defensive lineman continued. "Excited to have him back. He's really a guy for the locker room, and a lot of guys vibe with him. So, to bring him back as part of the group is special." Clearly, assuming Hayward speaks for the majority, the Steelers' locker room is okay with Rudolph starting in 2025. That realization also allows Pittsburgh to wait on Rodgers for as long as they need to, since they already have a backup plan on the roster. Vikings want to develop J.J. McCarthy, making an Aaron Rodgers signing unlikely, says insider. In case you missed it, on that same SportsCenter spot mentioned above, Fowler also added a note about Rodgers and the Vikings that is more good news for the Steelers. "Teams are waiting this out, waiting on Rodgers," Fowler relayed on March 16. "The feeling is there's not just a money consideration here. There's fit, there's surroundings, all those things. Minnesota Vikings are sort of on the periphery here," the ESPN insider went on. "Sources there tell me that it's possible they get involved with Rodgers, but the feeling this week has been probably not. They want to develop J.J. McCarthy. As the days roll on here in March, it's looking more and more likely that Rodgers could become a Steeler. Giants leader needs to take a page from Cam Hayward's book on Aaron Rodgers. At this point, it's fair to ask if anyone in the New York Giants locker room is getting fed up with the never-ending quarterback disaster. The front office has been waiting around for Aaron Rodgers like he's a lost package in the mail, while every other team in the league has made their moves. It's beyond embarrassing. Cam Hayward gets it. The Pittsburgh Steelers defensive captain made it clear that he's not in the business of groveling for Rodgers to pick Pittsburgh. He wants a guy who wants to be there. Simple as that. Meanwhile, the G-men have been sitting quietly, waiting for Rodgers to either choose the Minnesota Vikings or call it a career. Where's the pushback? Where's the frustration? Where's the fire? If anyone should be saying something, it's Big Blue's best player, Dexter Lawrence. Sexy Dex is the unquestioned leader of the Giants' defense, and if he's not sick of this by now, he should be. Dexter Lawrence needs whatever Cam Hayward's drinking. Hayward made it known he's not rolling out the red carpet for Rodgers, shutting the whole thing down in one sentence on the Not Just Football podcast. That's simple, that's the pitch. If you want me to recruit, that's the recruiting pitch. Pittsburgh Steelers, if you want to be part of it, so be it. If you don't, no skin off my back. That's what real leadership looks like. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He didn't beg. He just made it clear that the Steelers aren't waiting with open arms, ready for Rodgers to grace the locker room with his presence. Meanwhile, the Giants are sitting here like it's not a big deal and what the 41-year-old is doing is totally fine and normal. Rodgers has already made it known he wants the Vikings, and if they pass, he might just retire over playing in New York. But instead of calling his bluff, the Giants are sitting in limbo. Lawrence needs to take charge the same way Hayward did. This team is desperate for a quarterback, but they shouldn't be desperate for this quarterback. If Rodgers doesn't want to play in New York, move on. Maybe if Lawrence spoke up and set the tone, the front office would stop wasting time. Steelers meet with JALEN MILROE ahead of Alabama's Pro Day. While the Pittsburgh Steelers have been linked to some of the top quarterbacks in the 2025 NFL draft class, including a recent Mel Kiper Jr. video about both Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart going viral, the Pittsburgh Steelers spent their evening talking to a very unique signal caller in Alabama. That's right, as the NFL world trickles in to see all of Alabama's top prospects test at their pro day, the Steelers brass decided to take JALEN MILROE out to dinner, with Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, and Tom Arth all using the opportunity to get to know the passer better. Former Alabama QB JALEN MILROE had dinner tonight in Tuscaloosa with Steelers coach Mike Tomlin, GM Omar Khan, and QB's coach Tom Arth ahead of his pro day, per source, Pellizzero wrote. Pittsburgh, which continues to explore all options at the QB position, owns the number 21 pick in April's draft. Widely expected to be drafted on day 2, maybe even as late as the 4th round by scouts and pundits alike, MILROE is one of the more interesting arms in the 2025 class, with the highest ceiling of any player due to his athleticism but question marks across the board that make his floor a real uncertainty. If the Steelers like what they see from MILROE, then who knows, maybe he could be their 3rd-round pick after trading away their 2nd for DK Metcalf, but that isn't a guarantee, as his question marks may give the team pause. Are you a fan? What do you think about JALEN MILROE's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.